My boyfriend wants to lie on his law school applications about how he's gay. My boyfriend's Asian American, had a very high pressure, and I'm pretty sure physically abusive, childhood where his parents wanted him to go to an Ivy League university at all costs. He didn't get into any, and believes this is primarily due to his race and not his merits. Because of this, he thinks it's completely acceptable to lie on applications if merit isn't the primary factor anyway. His parents have continued to put pressure onto him to either get a prestigious job or go to a prestigious school for grad school. He seems to still want to please them. His application for law school is very good. Our uni advisors think he's got a very good chance at getting into a top 10 law school. He wants to get into top 5, and suggested to me that he pretends that he's gay. He's bi, not openly, but definitely not gay. We're dating. I said no, and after an argument, told him that I'll break up with him to pretend he's gay if that's how he wants to do it. My parents think I was too harsh. How should I deal with this? My boyfriend of 2 years is Asian American and had a very high pressure, and I'm almost completely sure physically abusive, but he'll never admit to anything of that nature. Childhood to get into an Ivy League university for undergrad. He believes he was a more qualified applicant than everyone else in his class, but didn't get into any Ivy Leagues, including a case where he and his best friend at the time, a girl, were waitlisted together on one of them. She was called from the waitlist and told him it was definitely because of her race, white, gender, and because her family was able to pay full tuition whereas his wasn't able to pay really anything. She offered to decline it for him so that he could go instead, but he refused. But the whole experience left him extremely bitter about his chances in applying to anything, and he fully believes that lying on his application is acceptable insofar as he's not caught, because the primary thing he's judged on is his race anyway. Anyway, he's done extremely well for himself in college. Unless he really fucks up the interview, and he's gone to several mock interviews on the off chance that that was why he didn't get into the Ivy Leagues and passed with flying colors, he's practically guaranteed a spot at the top 40 law school at our university, in state privilege. And our pre-law advisors told him he's got a great chance at top 10, he doesn't believe they're being completely honest. However, he's not interested in top 10. He's interested in top 5. I think it's because of his mom primarily, who I know calls him every 3 days and seems to barely ask about his life and instead asks about the status of his application, where he's thinking of applying, etc. He actually really loves his mom and says that she was nice to him, but from what he's told me, she was just not as bad as his dad. It makes me sick to my stomach to realize that after everything he's done and went through, he still wants the approval of his parents. After a particularly long call yesterday, he seemed thoughtful and distracted for most of the night, and then he came back to me today to ask if I'd be okay with him taking off pictures of me from his social media and I edit captions/delete certain pictures to make it seem like we're just friends, not dating. I asked why, and he said that he thinks the best move for him is to say that he's gay on his application. He showed me some drafts to the personal essay questions that he wrote up about being gay. They're all really insightful and everything, but it's not completely true and authentic to his life. The crazy thing is that he's bisexual. He doesn't tell almost anyone because he's afraid his parents will disown him if they find out, but he reluctantly showed me some pictures of his ex-boyfriend from our freshman year of college when we were talking about our exes. I asked him why he doesn't just say that, because that's actually true. He laughed and said that nobody will care about that, and then went into an explanation about the epistemic contract of bisexual erasure, which actually kinda made sense. I actually don't care about taking down social media posts or whatever. It's only temporary, and even if it's not for whatever reason, we'll still have those pictures. But the reasoning is what I don't like, so I told him point blank that I wanted to support him as much as I could, but I wouldn't do it for his outdated need to please his parents. We argued for a bit, until I just said that I'd be happy to pretend he's gay by breaking up with him, but nothing in between. He looked hurt by that and said we should go back home, we don't live together, and think about it again. I told my parents, who love him, and they actually surprisingly seemed torn about whether lying about being gay was really that bad, but they did agree that threatening to break up with him was too far. I was completely floored by this. So now I'm turning to the internet. I know playing up the things you did is a standard part of applications, but this just seems too far. If it's not too far, though, then yet I crossed a line by threatening to break up. What do you think? Comment. The bottom line is that your boyfriend asked you to lie about something you weren't comfortable lying about. You said no. You get to do that. A good partner won't pressure you to do something you don't think is right. I don't think it really matters whether his lie is objectively morally right or a good idea. There are intersecting marginalities here that would require a lot to unpack. There's also a lot that goes into the risk/reward decision of lying on a law school application. You didn't want to participate, so you set a boundary and offered him an out. I think you should continue to stand your ground and stay true to what you think is right here. Your boyfriend is going to make a terrible lawyer, assuming he even makes it that far. Break up with him before he gets expelled for cheating, or thrown off an internship for fudging his resume, or gets caught cutting whatever other corners he decides it's acceptable to cut in the name of pursuing success at all costs. It's a slippery slope. If he's willing to pretend to be something he's not to get ahead now, even if it's at your expense, how many more times is he going to pull that trick? Is he just hoping nobody he wants to impress ever discusses his social life with anyone from admissions, or that they don't try and push him toward affinity groups and projects because they assume it must be important to him if he cared enough to write about it? Bottom line, he hasn't thought the consequences or long-term ramifications of this through at all. Which, again, is not a great indicator that he's going to be a good lawyer. Sure, they can. They can absolutely rescind admission or strongly disincentivize you from remaining enrolled if they discover you've done something that calls your integrity into question, or they're worried you are going to be more trouble for their PR team than you are worth. I'm not saying they definitely would in this case, but they're not just going to shrug and go, "Oh, well, you did what you had to do," if the truth comes out. That is very not true. DOJ, any federal clerkship, and therefore future federal judge appointment, any federal job generally, like working as a legislative aide in Washington or at an executive agency, any prestigious nonprofit, academia, basically your chances at doing anything that's not going back home and doing wills and trusts or working at your dad's firm will be greatly impacted by going to a top law school. That's not even considering that rich people's kids cluster at top schools. There were 3 billionaire kids in my class of 180 and countless other well-connected people to get to know. You don't get that at Loyola or George Washington, however otherwise generally respectable those schools may be. If he is consistently waitlisted, it's more likely that he doesn't have the marks or references. At some point it is you, him, and not other factors. You may want to reflect on his victimhood narrative. What happens if he doesn't get the internship he wants, or fails the bar, or doesn't get the job he wants? What happens if he doesn't make partner or doesn't win an election or party nomination? What happens if you put an offer on a house and yours isn't accepted? Reality is there are hundreds of people who apply to programs that take dozens. Majority of these applicants have same transcripts, CVS, experiences, references, and come from similar schools. Sometimes, particularly with grad schools, what will tip the scale is research interest and if there are faculty who have the same research interest. I know law school is not as specialized as a grad program, but I would think if you are passionate about like financial or international law that somewhere in NYC might be more willing to accept over a student who is interested in family law. But I have no idea law school-wise. Story 2. How do I keep my proposal to a secret? She wants to control everything. I love my girlfriend. We've been together for 4 years now and I'm ready to pop the question. We love to travel and she also really values friendships and family. I decided on a destination proposal with friends and invited her BFF/sister. They are really close. I even asked her permission to marry her sister instead of parents. And we are planning the proposal together. We are the only ones that know. Our problem is my GF likes to be in charge of planning things. It make her feel good to have control. I think it's cute. She's a tiny 5 feet nothing yet has a way of controlling men 3x her size. But it's making it very difficult to plan anything or hide anything. We already have had a couple arguments over this trip because she feels not included enough when she notices me planning with her sister. She wants to plan this trip. I think it physically pains her not to. Recently we picked the dates, and we decided to look at Airbnbs. GF was literally over my shoulder dictating messages to her sister from my phone on Airbnbs and even grabbed the phone from me and started texting. Her sis thought it was me she was talking to. I was terrified. And here comes the first problem. I want to book a really nice Airbnb because it's a special occasion, but since this is just a group trip with friends, we have to split the cost. I've already told everyone involved I want to cover any extra expenses on getting a high-end extra Airbnb. But my girlfriend straight up said no. She doesn't want me paying for everyone, and she wants the best deal for everyone and she thinks it's ridiculous I'd pay so much. It's about the experience, not the where we stay, she says. Normally I'd agree, but this is special for the both of us. Well, I just booked it. Anyways, when see, it's a couple thousand, She knows my finances, so she is going to notice. And she's going to want to know every detail about the Airbnb today so we can book flights. Trust in making decisions as partners is super important to her. And once I propose, she'll understand. But she is going to be pissed. She's going to be mad for weeks. Might even be in a bad mood for the trip and effect proposal. Comment. Can you tell her that you are orchestrating a surprise for her that you will both always remember? So can she please trust you on this? Tell her that even if you screw up some aspects or do some things differently, it will still be totally worth it. Tell her it means a lot to you to be able to make this happen. You need to frame this for her. Something beautiful is about to happen for both of you. She needs to trust the universe on this one. Maybe if you tip her off just a little, she will calm the hell down if she really wants to be proposed to. Make sure she likes surprises and that she looks beautiful. I'm sure you've seen the funny video where the man proposes on a hike to a woman in sweatpants and she screams, "You let me wear sweatpants?" Very relatable for a lot of women. OP, have her parents or sister take the fall, haha. Take some aspect of the place that makes it more expensive, pool, hot tub, view, space, have one of her family members say they wanted it and they're paying the difference back to you after you made the initial booking. Obviously, they won't be. She can be told after the fact that you wanted the nice place to return to after the proposal and have a good time in an appropriately celebratory setting. I know people like this, and you might have to give up on a little bit of the surprise if you want it to work. 100% surprise proposals have always felt risky to me anyway. Almost every person I know had some suspicion of when their proposal would happen, and they could prepare accordingly. They could make sure to look nice, be extra kissy and loving, psyche themselves up emotionally. It will still be sweet and memorable. When my husband or I start shopping for presents or planning surprises, we always say this is the wrong time of year to be asking. So, we know a surprise is coming, but we don't know what it is exactly. It saves us both from either trying to guess or from spilling the beans because it's hard to keep happy things from each other. Maybe so it's not coming from you. You could have one of her friends tip her off about needing to relax. It'll be all good, man. I proposed to my fiancé like 3 weeks ago. The surprise element will always be the toughest. You're definitely backed into a corner though, and unless you want to come up with something, you might have to just tell her that you are planning a surprise for her, then keep it super tight-lipped after that. Even if she puts 2 and 2 together and is 99% sure you'll propose, she still won't know the how part. Focus on that. Make it really amazing, and also make sure it's on a day where she needs to dress up a bit. She will be so happy in the moment and great atmosphere that she won't care about the surprise part of it.